So tonight's topic is, I think it's very important for people, especially, well, it's good for people in the beginning and people who, especially if you've been in a Dharma for quite some time. Usually the misunderstanding may occur in the beginning, but if we do not get that misunderstanding corrected, then we will basically carry our Dharma practice or Dharma life forward into the future with a misunderstanding. And it's not just a misunderstanding in the sense of like a very innocent kind of misunderstanding. Oh, I thought it was blue, but it's actually red, but that's okay. But it's more of a, your understanding is directing you in a particular direction. If you're holding a misunderstanding, then the direction you thought you are going is not, you're not heading in that direction, and you're convinced that you're heading in that direction. And also at the same time, there are things that we will encounter along the way that we, because of our misunderstanding, we will react towards them in a way that is not going to be helpful. Okay. So it's very important, and that's why one of the Bodhisattva vows is about being very careful about teaching what is considered to be the profound aspect of the true nature of reality to just anyone. So someone who's not been prepared, because you could do tremendous damage to that person, not just in terms of their present psychological life, but also their future lives as well. So it's a very serious thing. Okay. All right. And also there are some slight misunderstanding that people have here and there. And then of course we correct them along the way. And there's nothing wrong with that. All right. So let's do our usual plan 15 minutes, but we never actually do 15. But we're going to keep doing that, planning to do 15 minutes meditation. And then we begin with the topic. Oh. I guess the timer has changed. It can't just be just press the button. No. Right? Make the conscious intention that you're going to meditate. Bring to a conscious awareness your understanding of what meditation is. And as you are holding this understanding of what meditation is, you allow that understanding to sort of merge and blend with the understanding that your natural intelligence that is in the body, the intelligence that is deep, already has of what meditation is. But you're gonna not impose our intellectual understanding, but rather we are going to allow our intellectual understanding to align with the deep understanding that is already embedded within, even within our body. Just holding on to that, aligning that. And with that understanding, make a intention as to you're going to meditate. Why? Why are you going to enter into that space? What is it that you wish? What is it that's going on in your life that you need to address? Something that is present, something that's ongoing. And again, you allow the intelligence within the body to respond in a way that is cooperative. You're not imposing upon any part of you the intention to meditate, but rather you're introducing it, you're inviting. Pay attention to the body, how it is responding to your intention. Feel that natural intelligence giving you advice, or you want to meditate. I know what that is. Make sure your legs are like this. comfortable and stable. Make sure your spine is like this, comfortable, stable, attentive. From your shoulders all the way to the tip of your fingers, arrange your arms and hands like this. And as you go scanning these various parts, notice that you are beginning to touch the meditative state and invite them. Invite those signs that are letting you know that you are indeed approaching meditative state. Allow your head and neck to be centered, so there's no conscious effort in holding them in place. Mouth, teeth, tongue resting in their natural places. Muscles of the face relaxed. As relaxed as you can consciously make them. And gently come rest your attention in your eyes. Resting your eyes in what is for you the most conducive way for your eyes to be, so you can go as deeply as you can. Some, it may be closed, others slightly open, others even halfway open. And there are some few who might need to have the eyes fully open. So whatever works for you, whatever helps you go deeper into accessing more subtle consciousness, that's the one you adopt. That's the one that's best for you. By the time you reach your eyes, your body should be in the posture that you're going to adopt for the meditation. And gently go to your breath. In the same way we palpably encountered signs in the body, look for the signs that are naturally present in the breath. A sense of calming taking place, welcome it, take joy in it. A pleasantness related to the very dynamic of breathing, welcome it, enjoy it. And as you do that, as you simply bring attention, awareness to these signs, you begin to feel them also arising or present in the mind itself. Welcome them, take joy in them. And finally, you probably notice a slight shift in the breath. Some people may feel it energetically. Some people may feel that the breath suddenly slightly shifts in a slightly different behavior. Either the inhale and the exhale become equalized, or one of them sort of taken a more apparent appearance. So that's the sign that you're at the very threshold. It's now time to go through the door, through the threshold, and fully commit yourself to this state called meditation. And you sort of sign this commitment with a nice deep breath. And if you can do it mentally only, you can do that also. But it helps if you have this sort of physical gesture with the breath. Do it the nice deep breath in through the nose. Hold for a second or two, and then release. And as you release, let it go, let go, let go, let go in the body, let go in the breath, let go in the mind, keep letting go, noticing yourself going deeper into the calm, deeper into the pleasantness. And at the end of that exhalation, stay where you reach and let the breath come back by itself. But staying in that measure of calm, staying in that measure of pleasantness in the body, in the breath, in the mind. And perhaps now, because you're now abiding in a more subtle consciousness, you are now aware of things that you were not aware of before. Perhaps you are now aware there's a slight tension here or there in the body. Just by being aware of it, bring attention to that place with the intention to just relax. And there's no need to control, no need to manipulate anything for the relaxation to take place. Just simply bring the intention for that part to relax, and then witness it relaxing. And as it relaxes, notice that the signs are enhancing in the body, in the breath, in the mind. That means your mind is getting more subtle, and more, therefore, more powerful. In addition to the signs of this nice, pleasant feeling, this calm, notice also the signs that are mainly noticeable in the mind, a sense of clarity, a sense of radiance, and we are experiencing them indirectly through inner sensations. And depending on some people, because of your predisposition, those inner signs of clarity and radiance may be some physical sensation, some energetic movement, some inner sound that you're hearing and you know it's not coming from your environment. And if your eyes, whether your eyes are closed or open, there are visions appearing, different shapes, different colors, different lights. It might even be a scent that tells you, or a taste suddenly arising. So whatever it is for you, acknowledge it as a sign that your mind right now is clearer than it was before, brighter, more luminous than it was before. And welcome that and take joy in that. And as you go deeper, the clarity will become more clearer and clearer until it becomes pure clarity itself without any intermediary object to help you notice the clarity. The same with the luminosity and the radiance. Now gently bring your attention to the space in front of you at the level of your eyebrows. Notice the sensation arising in the forehead. Whatever the sensation is for you, ascribe to it a sign of your natural ability to focus. So when you feel yourself losing touch with that, come back to this sensation and reaffirm that focus is natural to your mind. It's not something you have to force the mind to do. It does it naturally. And to help collect attention, so towards that sensation, ascribe further that this sensation is due to the presence of your ideal way to understand, your ideal way to relate in the most beneficial way with just relating yourself, others, environment, the ideal that you feel drawn towards. And for some, eventually that presence, that sensation may have a visual appearance, some sort of bright appearance. Others is just an energetic presence. Whatever it is for you, be aware of it and ascribe to it. This is your ideal. This is what some may call your future enlightened state, because it is beyond all limitations. It is beyond the limitations of space, beyond the limitations of time, beyond the limitations of you experience now in consciousness. It is beyond all that. So it is absolutely possible for your own future enlightenment to visit you, to guide you. So be open to that guidance by first expressing a deep sense of reverence. And as you express that sense of reverence, feel yourself going deeper into the calm in the body, in the breath, and the mind. Feel yourself going deeper into the pleasantness that is slowly evolving into some sort of joy. Notice the clarity becoming clearer by those very sensations becoming sharper, louder, more pronounced, and the luminosity becoming brighter through those objects, the sensations becoming more present. The sense of being aware of them is not like what they were a moment ago, but how they are more to how they are in their actual present, and also the vividness of how you're experiencing them. Welcome all the signs that you are actually going deeper, accessing more subtle consciousness, more powerful consciousness. And let these very signs be deepened through awakening, bringing up a sense of trust in that presence. And with deep conviction that now that you have some degree of a conscious connection, then it is without a doubt that you will, without a doubt, become the very embodiment of this ideal. So along the way, there are things that resources that you will need, that you will find yourself encountering, that you have encountered, people you need to encounter that you've encountered, situations you need to leave behind that you find yourself leaving behind. So feel a great sense of gratitude for what has happened, for what is happening, for what will happen, that will eventually make you become the very embodiment of this ideal. And as you express this sense of gratitude, let yourself go deeper, deeper into the calm, the pleasantness, the clarity, the radiance, the focus. And now let yourself be bathed by this bright presence, helping you remove obstacles, strengthening the qualities within you that needs to be strengthened, filling you with the qualities that you need, that you don't yet have. And open your heart to fully receive the gift that this ideal has for you, been holding for you, wanting to give you for a very long time. And with your heart open, feel that presence move from the forehead to the crown, and from the crown descending to the very center of your heart. And feel its presence radiating throughout your being from the center of your heart. And feel ready to understand, ready for that intelligence within you that sees clearly to be present. Okay, get ready to come out of the meditation with the intention to come out. Notice that you are indeed in meditation. Notice the signs, rejoice that they're there. And just like the way we went in through the breath, we will emerge, arise using the breath. A nice deep breath. Hold, let go. And deliberately become aware of your inner, immediate surroundings, your sense of touch, hearing, and sight. All right. So I have no idea how long that was, but maybe it was 15 minutes, but I doubt it. Well, I want to thank Nizam for his wonderful work in writing these emails, these invitations, and they're always very insightful, very well thought out. Thank you. So I'll take, I'll just continue from the place where the email took you and continue from there. Nizam brought out the three jewels. How, I mean, what's the purpose of the three jewels? The purpose of the three jewels is for, like, you look at your life, you look at the situation of your existence, and you finally arrive at something that you feel that you can really rely on. So far, the history of our existence here is that a lot of things that we've placed our reliance on have demonstrated themselves to be unreliable. And because of that, that has created a lot of difficulties for us, a lot of suffering, a lot of pain, a lot of mistrust because of these things. And it's not the fault of these things that we are necessarily in pain. We are in pain because we assume that they were reliable when their nature, when their very nature is that they are unreliable by nature. So if they are unreliable by nature, then it's not their fault that they eventually become unreliable. That is their nature, to be unreliable. And it's not that they have to go through some sort of initiation or some sort of evolution where one day they will become reliable, right? They are unreliable by nature. That is the very nature of the existence that we find ourselves in. because the basis of the existence that we find ourselves in, that very existence, is misunderstanding. So everything that arises from misunderstanding has nothing other than to have the nature of being unreliable. Okay, so that is it. But it doesn't mean that there are no things whatsoever, there are no phenomena whatsoever that are complete, that are on. There are no phenomena that are reliable. Okay, so when we finally come to the three jewels, we have a little bit of understanding, and this little bit of understanding led us to come to at least a bit of a understanding of if there are things in the universe, if there are things that exist, I have to say, that whose nature are reliable, then it is these things. Now, it doesn't necessarily mean just like when you encounter a cell phone and then or you're comparing the iPhone 15 with the iPhone 6 and which one is more reliable. It's not in that sense. Both the iPhone 16, which one we have now? I don't know. It's not that the iPhone 16 or comparing to the iPhone 6, and then you're trying to see which is more reliable. They're both of the nature. They are both made of material that will eventually deteriorate. Okay, it's not just a marketing strategy of making you change the phone every year. Eventually, the phone was going to break anyway without Apple giving you another one the following year. Okay, so it's the very nature of these things are unreliable. They both arise from the same substance, you could say. Okay, so it's not in that same way that the three jewels happens to be an iPhone 17 or the iPhone 100, and then you say, oh, nah, that's the one that's reliable. Okay, it's not in that same sense, but rather, if there is something in the universe that is reliable, that I can completely trust, if there is a teacher that I can completely trust, if there is a community that I can completely trust as a community, if there is a set of instructions or teachings or understandings, a way of looking at viewing the world that I can trust, whatever that is what is referred to the three jewels. So the three jewels are not necessarily those things that we encountered that came from India some 2,000 or so 500 years ago. That is not necessarily the three jewels. The three jewels didn't come into existence because of the Buddha who came, of the prince who decided to leave his kingdom behind and then pursue a spiritual path, and then he invented something called the three jewels. It's not in that sense. Okay, but rather, when we look at things in our lives, when you look at things in existence, and there is this desire to find something that we can rely on, completely rely on, and we keep looking for them. We have times when we consciously look for them, that is, I know I'm looking for something that is reliable. No, in a conventional way, that when you go shopping, right, you're consciously looking for something that you can rely on for whatever reason. Rely on to give you pleasure, rely on to last over a certain period of time, rely on to not break your bank account. Okay, so in that way you can rely. So there is a sense of relying, but there's a deeper sense of searching for that reliance, where you don't have to be worried about, like, for example, relying on the Dharma. That if it is the Dharma that you're relying on, there isn't a sense that one day the Dharma will fail you. What I mean by one day will fail you, one day it will not be something that is in alignment with the true nature of reality. that will be failing you. One day, it will no longer be something that actually help you to achieve a true sense of liberation, a true sense of contentment, a true sense of fully expressing your potential. One day it would fail to do that. Then they would be unreliable. And we would say that, well, it's because you didn't really find the Dharma. You were relying on something, just like the metaphors that Nazam put in the email. You thought you thought it was a buoy. You thought it was a buoy, but it wasn't. And then you relied on it as a buoy, but the thing wasn't a buoy in the first place. It was our misunderstanding that it was a buoy. And we were expecting it to behave like a buoy, but that's not its nature to behave like a buoy. So we have become perplexed. We become confounded. Why isn't this buoy not acting like a buoy? Because it's not a buoy. I like saying buoy. It was a slippery fish, or worse, it was a shark. So if it bites you, don't say, buoys bite. Okay. And unfortunately, that's what happens when we misunderstand the Dharma. We are holding on to something we think is Dharma. It doesn't, and eventually it's not the Dharma. It cannot behave like the Dharma. Eventually it bites us. And that's where the danger comes in. We think, Dharma is something that bites you. So if you think Dharma is something that bites you, you're going to stay away from it. So the thing that's supposed to take you to liberation, the thing that's supposed to make you be fully human, you're staying away from it. Okay. It's like, unfortunately, there are some bad politicians and there are some good politicians. And if you encounter a bad politician, you're going to say, that's how politicians are. They are not to be trusted. They're not reliable. So and if you were to encounter an actual, true, good politician, because your experience with politician was that it was unreliable, so you will not be able to make use of this person who can actually help you. Okay. So one of the dangers of misunderstanding the Dharma is that we, by our misunderstanding, keep actually tightened the chain that binds us to an existence where our very nature is prone to experiencing suffering. Okay. All right. And we'll get a little bit to that later on. All right. So let's begin with the very first fundamental thing, the Four Noble Truths. I'm not going to go into a teaching about the Four Noble Truths. So when you read some of the stories about the encounter of the Buddha when he's encountered someone or goes into a situation, first what he does, he sets the people up. He makes them ready to receive what he's about to say. He doesn't just begin by saying, there are Four Noble Truths. The first one is this, the second one is that. So even that, if someone is not prepared, they may hear their own. The thing is, when we are listening, we cannot help but listen with our own histories, with our own filters. And these are the things that first filter what we are hearing. And if someone is already there with the understanding that there's nothing you can do about pain, about suffering, it's just that is the very nature of existence itself. Not the nature of a kind of existence, but whatever exists, in whatever way it exists, there is suffering. And that person, if you come into the teaching with that and you hear the first of the Four Noble Truths about the truth of suffering, and that will in a way sort of say, yep, that validates it. So, and you will find people even coming up with very sophisticated ideas about how even Buddhas suffer, because suffering is just part of existence. If you exist, Buddhas exist, suffering is part of your experience of existing. But suffering is, you could say, is a flavor. It is one of the experiences that one can have in existence while existing. Okay. It doesn't mean that by the very nature of existing, suffering is integral to existence. Okay. And every path that exists, no matter what it is called, it is an attempt at surpassing, at going beyond suffering. Right? So that aspiration to transcend suffering is noble. It is ingrained in the very, you can say, in a very nature of being a being. In the by the very nature of being a being, inclusive, inherent in that is an aspiration to be free of suffering. Now, another thing that we may misunderstand about this first noble truth about the truth of suffering is that somehow suffering is a necessity for evolution. Now, there are ways to understand that where it is true, but we have to be careful about how we understand this. And we encounter someone who is in deep suffering, and then perhaps it might be a very skillful thing to tell them there's a lesson in there for you. But the idea that the pain is an absolute necessity for that lesson to be learned, that's what we have to be very careful with. Okay. One way you can understand this in a way that it makes sense, or it is truthful, is that depending on the person, depending on how the person is prepared, an experience of pain can be a learning experience. But and what is it that the person is learning in the first place? What is it that the person is learning? How to not get this pain in the future. How to not suffer, how to not experience this suffering in the future. Okay, that's the if we are prepared, that's the lesson that we can learn from that. At least that is the most fundamental lesson to learn from that. So it's not that the pain is gonna accompany you while it teaches you. Okay. Or the suffering is gonna accompany you while it teaches you. So you could say suffering, the experience of suffering, at least is a sign that in some way or another we deviated from our true nature. In some way or another, we're misaligned with our true nature. So, and if you are ready, if you can take that as an understanding, you can take the suffering as a sign that realign yourself. You're not aligned. Realign yourself. Okay. So it's not that it is some sort of cosmically ordained thing that in order for us to evolve in any way, we have to suffer. Okay. But the thing is, there is suffering right now. How do you deal with it? That's the thing. It's not that, oh, I'm not evolved, I guess, because I don't have any pain. So let me go get some pain. Let me go get some suffering so it can teach me so I can evolve. Because if that is indeed the truth, about the First Noble Truth, that suffering is an absolute necessity for evolution, then when you feel yourself not evolving, then go get yourself some nice suffering. And in this way, what we do is we trivialize suffering. We make suffering into some sort of abstract rather than actual experience. Okay. Remember, the very simple way to define suffering is whatever you're experiencing, whatever it is that you're experiencing, at the same time that you're experiencing it, there's a wish not to experience it, not for it to not to continue, for it to not to continue, for it to not to continue, for it not to continue. Okay. That is the most direct way of understanding suffering. So don't abstract it into some philosophy, because when we do that, what we are actually doing, we are basically, what's that? It was not quite spiritual bypassing, but it's close to spiritual bypassing. It's not allowing ourselves to actually meet life. We are, in a way, turning ourselves away from the actual suffering that is actually taking place in our lives. We are distracting ourselves from actual life experience. Okay, when we abstract suffering like that. Okay, so if you're not fully enlightened, that means we are not in total alignment with our true nature. And when you're not in total alignment with our true nature, that very state of not being in alignment with our true nature, that state is suffering. And the suffering is a call to return to our true nature, to align with our true nature. Okay. There's no need to go look for suffering. If you're not enlightened, you're suffering. Okay. And if you feel that you cannot sense it, it means it is such a traumatic experience for you that you've desensitized yourself to know your experience. Okay. And as we proceed along the path, our sensitivity becomes more subtle, more refined, and we experience suffering differently. What may be an obvious suffering for someone may not be some obvious suffering for you. Not that you welcome that situation, but rather, if you are in that situation, it will not affect you detrimentally the way it would affect someone else. But there are certain things that you find to be extremely painful that the other person may not even be aware of, right? So our experience of suffering varies depending on our station on the path. Like, for example, if you are someone dedicated to the Bodhisattva path, where you've made compassion and love the very fuel of existence for you. So anything that comes against the expression of love in any way is very painful for you. Anything that comes in a way of compassion, in the expression of compassion, is very painful for you. Okay. Where these things mean others may not even be aware of them. Okay. So you experience pain in a different way. You experience suffering in a different way. So that's one of the things about, especially the First Noble Truth about suffering, which we can misunderstand, and we end up having empty philosophies about suffering, and where the most direct teaching from the First Noble Truth about the truth of suffering is say, A, open your eyes to your experiences as they are happening right here, right now. Okay. And for some of us, that is, we are so accustomed, so habituated to distraction that it becomes painful to begin to undo the habit of the distraction. So we have to take our time to realign ourselves. It's like, someone who had a big trauma when they were very young, and to protect themselves, the mind created a barrier where that memory is just not there. But it is affecting the person. It's affecting the person's behavior. It's affecting how they relate, but they don't know exactly why they're relating that way, why they speak that way, why they go towards certain things, why they run away from certain things. And then they continue to experience pain, but not the fundamental suffering. The mind is protecting them from that. They are distracted by what you might call even superficial pain, superficial suffering. And it is for them a kind of suffering, but they are superficial when you compare to the real root of the matter. So when that person is beginning to become healthier and healthier, so those superficial pain eventually give way for them to start to be able to see, they remove the barrier. And the pain that they were going through, almost to the point where they were telling themselves, I can't take this pain anymore. Not the pain of the trauma, but the pain of going towards the real pain. Eventually they gain strength, eventually they're able to see. And when they look at the pain, the real core pain, then, oh my goodness, that pain compared, now this sort of, it come to it with the understanding, no, I know why my mind was protecting me from that. Okay. And that is when I'm comparing this to the other pain that I've experienced, this is actually much worse. Right. But somehow through they're getting healthier and healthier, they're not able to really deal with the real pain. And because they're really dealing with the real pain, they are really ready to actually reach health, reach a healthy state of being. Before that, all those states of health that they thought they were achieving, they were just superficial, and they were distractions, and they weren't real health. And it's like going back to it's like the buoy. They were grabbing onto sharks, expecting the sharks to behave like a buoy, when it is not the shark's nature to be a buoy. The nature of the shark is to be a shark. Okay. So this danger is peculiar when we find ourselves in a lot of unbearable suffering. And we want to take on this understanding of the First Noble Truth in a way that is relevant to us. And if we misunderstand it, the danger here is that we actually dig ourselves deeper. It's like we pile more suffering on top of the underlying suffering that is already there. And we end up spending years supposedly on the Dharma path and not getting any kind of healing, because we take the Dharma, the healing of the Dharma, to be putting blinds on. And that is not what the First Noble Truth is about. It's about removing blinds, looking at life for what it is, looking at experience for what it is. Okay. One of the attributes of Dharma, quickly, Dharma, in a very philosophical, fancy way, not the actual sounding dharma, maybe not necessarily those syllables themselves, the meaning of them, dharma, that kind of thing, but rather the philosophical understanding of the word dharma is that which uplifts you, that which takes you to truth, to a higher way of being. So that's what dharma is. So if it's not taking you to a higher way of being, then it's not dharma. And dharma for you may not be dharma for someone else. Huh? And that's why there are so many different paths, so many different yogas. It's because of our predispositions. Now, they're all dharma in the sense that for whom they are made for, it takes them, it uplifts them, it takes them to true alignment with their true nature. And that is sort of like a direct meaning of dharma. But another more poetic, somewhat like a derivative understanding of what is dharma is that which invites you to investigate it. And I've said this many times already. Okay, that's the nature of truth. It is inviting for investigation. I think the term that I use is that dharma or truth is a diva. It loves attention. It wants you to look at it. It wants you to investigate it because it knows itself to be valid through and through. It's not afraid. It's not hiding it's not hiding a little lie behind its back, and it's afraid that you're gonna see what's hiding behind its back, and you know that you're not exactly what you're presenting yourself to be. It wants to be thoroughly investigated. It invites thorough investigation. So if you encounter something that is hiding parts of itself to you, where it doesn't really invite investigation of it, then that is the number one suspicion as to maybe you have not encountered the dharma. Now, it doesn't mean that, for example, like I began when I said that about one of the vows that the Bodhisattva takes is that you can't just blurt out the profound meaning of the true nature of reality to just anyone without preparing them first. Even when the Buddha was teaching what is called some simple dharma, like the Four Noble Truth, which is very profound, but it for some reason it's called simple dharma. The Buddha prepares the audience before Buddha teaches them that. Okay, so something that will drastically shifts the psychological makeup of the person who's listening. If they're not prepared, even though it is the truth, but that it's not inviting investigation, its nature, but it may not be revealed all of a sudden, all at once in the beginning. Just if someone is in a traumatic state, there are certain things that you cannot just present to them because of the traumatic state. You have to be careful. You have to introduce things slowly because the point of it is for the person to be healed. It's not just to dispense with truth or whatever, whoever's there, but it is the whole purpose of it. The reason for the Dharma, the three jewels, is to help beings get to true health. Okay, that's the whole purpose of it. It's not just to bash itself onto people, force itself onto people. Okay, it's not like the true meaning of the word meme, as invented by the guy who actually created the term meme. It's a meme, like a gene. Gene, its nature, it wants to replicate. No matter what, it will replicate itself. Okay, so a meme is the same thing too, but at the level of idea. Some ideas, doesn't matter if they are helpful or not, as long as they exist as an idea, their intention is to be implanted in the mind of someone else. That's the reason for their existence. Okay, so the Dharma is not like a meme where it just wants to be implanted in somebody's mind, no matter what it does to that mind. Okay, so when uh, when someone when you're engaged in conversation with someone, and it seems like from your conversation from your engagement with them, it seems like, oh, there's this part about what I've learned that could help them, that they seem to be asking for, and you give a little taste to see how they take it. And if they receive it well, then you give them more. If you give them more, you give them more. Then with this preparation, then you can tell them, oh, by the way, you don't exist. But they're prepared to really understand what you mean when you say you don't exist. But if you just blurt out, hey, you don't exist, you may end up causing a lot of damage. And if that is how you come to understand it, then you will damage your own mind. You will damage your own being. And I've seen this many times in the center. Some person comes in, that person seems to be well read, seems to be well informed, but hasn't quite heard about what is called the profound nature of reality. That the pure magic nature of the nature of reality, the glue, the magical glue that makes things exist. Okay, and we eagerly approach it the same way we approach, going to the iPhone store. I'm not selling iPhones. I'm not a representative. I'm not getting paid by. No, you go to the latest smartphone store and you're eager to just get your hands on one. Okay, no matter what the consequences may be for you, you just want to get your hands on one. Okay, so when we hear about, oh, there's this profound Dharma, it will help you in profound ways, and you eagerly want to get your hands on it. You really want to get your mind wrapped around it. Okay, and without necessarily preparing ourselves, we grab onto it. And the thing is, we are grabbing onto, remember that we have filters, preconditioned filters that will determine how we understand this. So when this person didn't quite yet encounter the profound presentation of the true nature of reality, came to the center, and someone blurted to that person, thinking that, oh, I'm going to give you the gift of telling you the most profound thing that we got here. You don't exist. And the person went into a meltdown. The person went into the street saying, I don't exist. I don't exist. Oh my God, I don't exist. And I mean, the person is going around trying to make sense of saying these words. That person going around saying, I don't exist. I don't exist. I don't exist. And that person, unfortunately, was taken to a mental hospital. Okay. So that's the danger of teaching the profound to someone who's not ready. But the person who was giving that, thinking that I was giving a gift, didn't quite understand what they thought they understood. Because if that person really understood what that was, that person wouldn't just blurt it out to just anyone who just comes in. Okay. And it unfortunately for a lot of people, because this is to be like, I mean, it's exotic. It seems to be, we have in modern times, Western modern times. I'm saying modern times, but like it's not really Western, like, you know, geographically speaking, like people on the West and this designated West, but rather on the present time where I want it now kind of thing. Okay, this kind of thing, I want it now. So you encounter the teaching and you're waiting for what's supposed to be the most profound thing that they have. You're waiting for what is supposed to be the most precious, most secretive things that they have. And you're not paying attention to the things that are supposed to prepare you when that thing is given to you. And you just say, oh, that's not it. Okay, that's not it. Okay, that's not it. What's next? That's not it. Oh, that's not it. And then, oh, there it is. Emptiness. Everything is empty. Yay, I got it. This is the most precious thing that they make you wait a long time to get it. I only went there for 1 week and I got it. Okay, now you go out telling people, I got it. You know, those people, they have to wait the years and years before they get that. I'm special. You know how to manipulate things. I got it. The person thinks that person got it, but the person that didn't really get it. The person got the words, but not the real understanding. Okay. And I sort of gave you the worst case scenario of a misunderstanding of Dharma, of especially the profound Dharma. The worst case scenario, like what the unfortunate thing that happened to this person, that they ended up in a mental institution. And less than that, sometimes if you look at it, but if you look at your existence having many lifetimes, it might even be worse if you think of it that way. So this person, yes, it is very tragic what happened to that person, but that's their mind of that lifetime is damaged, and then they might be able to pick it up next life. But if we carry the more insidious sort of like, we are convinced we have the proper understanding, we do not openly, sincerely do what the Dharma begs to be done, to investigate it openly. We just have this idea that I've already understand it, and we just carry on with that, I already understand it. So we are basically keeping ourselves stuck in our situation. But not only are we keeping ourselves stuck in our situation, let's say if we understood it, it would have taken us, just for the sake of a number, 7 lifetimes to fully achieve it, or 7 transformation in that life if you don't want to go into a few future lives. So instead of being 7, each time that we are carrying on this misunderstanding, thinking that we have the proper understanding, we are pushing away the 7 further and further away from us, until, and when I say we are pushing away the 7 away from us, I'm not saying that now there's a year, now we add 8. No, it might take several turning of consciousness, which might happen in several lifetimes. And then eventually we find ourselves in front of now we are in front of the 7, in front of 7. So the more we hold on to the misunderstanding, the faster we push away the 7, faster we push away our chance, our capacity, our opportunity to really arrive at full alignment with our true nature. So I'm not going to necessarily, I already went into one of the different ways of misunderstanding, like the first form of the Noble Truth about suffering. And that's because I encountered this a lot. So I thought I would spend a little bit more time on that, because there is there is this thing that, I'm a Buddhist. We embrace suffering. No, we don't embrace suffering. The very thing that we're trying to do is to have an existence where suffering doesn't exist anymore. Okay. We don't fantasize about what suffering is. We don't abstract about what suffering is. Suffering is, what are you actually experiencing that is not the experience of being fully aligned. Okay. The very last thing, I think, is because most of us in the West, we've encountered what you must call Mahayana Buddhism, where the ideal is the Bodhisattva ideal. One of the misunderstanding that we have is that we have to become a Bodhisattva. We are not automatic Bodhisattvas because we are attracted to the teaching of Bodhisattvas. Okay. Just because we have some inclination of love, some inclination of compassion, we feel compassion for the homeless person outside, we feel love for our parents or for someone who benefits us, we think, oh, I'm a Bodhisattva. Okay, now I can go out and help people because I keep hearing Bodhisattvas go out to help. It is very noble to think that, but the danger of doing this is that it's like you love the idea of being a doctor, and you start practicing medicine just right away. You have to become the doctor, okay? And you do things that will eventually make you a doctor. You acquaint yourself, you associate with those things that will eventually make you a doctor. And of course, along the way, you learn, oh, this is how you treat a wound. And along the way, oh, this is how you treat a headache. Along the way, you say, this is how you treat that. But that doesn't make you a full doctor. Then you will disappoint yourself when you encounter very difficult situations. People are having very difficult situations in their lives. And yes, you want to help. That is very beautiful. That is very noble. And you should want to help. But we have to acknowledge, what is it that we truly have the capacity to do? Is this just a wound? And I've already learned how to treat that and what to put on it and how to dress it. And okay, I'll do that. But if it's something that requires surgery, you don't know how to do surgery, stop trying to do surgery, thinking that I'm a Bodhisattva, is gonna, that will take care of it. You will damage the person. And think of this in terms of psychological, physical, economic, and all the other ways that we want to help socially, right? It's beautiful to want to help at those capacities. And it's equally beautiful to recognize that I'm not yet able to do that. That's what I should aim for, so that the next time I encounter this, I will be ready to do so. Don't become discouraged. I've been a Bodhisattva for 2 months and I still can't free my cat. Okay. This Bodhisattva thing is not working. You're not a Bodhisattva yet. What do you mean it's not working? Okay. You're not a doctor yet. What do you mean being a doctor doesn't work? Mm-hmm. So you don't end up discouraging yourself, thinking that this Bodhisattva thing is nonsense. And you don't end up harming people who, because you exude this I can help kind of air, and they come to you for help, and then you don't turn them away, which is the compassionate thing to do. And you might hold on to them, hold on to the relationship, thinking that somehow, keep holding my hands while I study. Eventually, I'll get to that page that will show me how to help you. But life is going on. Months are going by, years are going by, and their pain is still with them and festering and getting worse. Where the most compassionate thing to do is to say, what is the first noble truth tell me to do? Look at your situation. What is actually there? I do not have this capacity to help and present to this person so that the person will not use you as a buoy when you're not a buoy. You're a shark for that person right now. Let the person see, that's a shark. I shouldn't rely on this as a buoy. Let me go find a real buoy. And if you know a real buoy, the direction to a real buoy, then direct that person. I think that's a buoy over there, going that direction. I may be right, but I may be wrong, but definitely there's no buoy here for you to rely on. Or you spend years, a long time, trying to rely on this to be a buoy when it is not a buoy. Okay. And that's the thing that I think a lot of Westerners encounter, because they've encountered this beautiful, wonderful teaching about there are these beings called bodhisattvas who live and breathe compassion and love. And of course, we want to be, it's wonderful we want to emulate them. They are the state to become, okay? And if we really want to do what they're doing, let's do what did they do to become what they are. If you really love to see someone playing a wonderful instrument and you would love to be able to do what this person is doing with that instrument, with the audience, do what that person did to be able to play that instrument that way. Spend the time, do the training, really appreciate it in its full breath. Okay. Yes, compassion is powerful. Compassion, love is powerful. And if you rely on them, they will help you. I am not able to do this yet, but my compassion will compel me to one day be able to do it, rather than, this compassion is not working. Somebody's come to me for help and I can't help them. Or worse, I think if I cut the bone here, you will be healed, and you go in and do surgery, and then you're not ready to do surgery yet. Okay, you're defeating the very compassion that seems to be propelling you to act. You're bringing harm, not intentionally bringing harm, of course, but unfortunately that's the end of it. And that's what the Bodhisattva wants to avoid at all time. That is a subtle thing that is extremely painful for a Bodhisattva, to be associated, to be the condition, to be associated with the condition that brings pain to another being. That is extremely painful for Bodhisattva. And there are some Bodhisattvas who make vows that are so powerful that even if they don't remember it, that will propel them, that will remain very vibrant in their future lives, where if I even think of doing something that will harm someone, may I get such a headache that it paralyzes me. Okay. And some of you are probably of that lineage where you would probably experience things like that. And you have no idea where it comes from. Well, it's because you made such mighty vows before. Okay. All right. Definitely reached the time. I was hoping that some people would ask question. Maybe there's some particular thing that either you don't quite fully understand, you would like to get some clarity on, or you heard someone said something, that person seems to be authoritative, but it has a bit of confusion for you. Maybe you might want to do that. So I'll open the floor for that briefly, even though it's way past.
Well, I can say maybe it's a longer topic, but what you were sharing about the Bodhisattva was very moving to me and something I struggle with often. Like
Mm.
the kindest thing to do in a certain situation of whether it could bring short-term suffering to somebody, but maybe in the long term, it's more beneficial to say,
Mm-hmm.
sorry, I can't help you when they really think you're the one that could help them.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe that's a bigger topic about the path of the Bodhisattva that we could explore at another time. Um,
Oh
but
yeah.
that delicate nature of really what is the kindest thing and how do you know whether you're
Mm-hmm.
being withholding your compassion or actually by saying no, it is, the most helpful, or that's just one example.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah. That can be complicated. Can have so many layers, different layers. It could be. There's definitely. I'm convinced there was this initial movement of compassion, clear, sincere compassion. But as it moves to uh, um, how would I as it moves from the depth of your being to be expressed in the world, on that journey, it may encounter so many different things like fear, shame, all those kinds of things, where it becomes the initial compassion is still there, but it's now colored with fear, and you're not sure if you're acting or withholding because of fear, or if it's some real expression of compassion. So the thing to do and to train ourselves in is to really begin to be attentive to what is actually taking place. And one of the things that in the very beginning is to be beautifully confused. There's nothing wrong with being confused. That is a state. That is a state. That is an experience that you're observing. I am confused. That is what is actually taking place. So acknowledge it. I am confused. And then doubt. I'm not sure if it's this. I'm not sure if it's doubt. That's what's actually taking place. What's taking place? Doubt. It's not whether or not it is this or whether it is that, but rather I'm in the place where the experience is doubt. Then eventually you will see, there are colorings of fear that are uh, making me act or making me not act. But it doesn't mean that there's only fear or there's only or resentment even that might, all these things. It's just that it is complex. It's complicated. But the thing is to notice with all these different ways that the compassion is sort of has been brought to the surface, and all those things that it carried from the depth of your consciousness, they are there. It doesn't mean that because there is fear that there's no compassion. It's a complicated compassion. It's a compassion that is mixed with fear. And the thing to do is to try to, when you're actually acting, try to align yourself more with the compassion side, and be honest with yourself. Is it the fear that is moving me, or is it the compassion part that is moving me? Okay. And it has to do with being truly honest with ourselves. Sometimes other things can completely cover the compassion, completely cover the love. And it seems like, not it seems like, we are convinced it is love, but it's actually something else, like fear of rejection, perhaps. Maybe that's what's driving the action. That's what's driving the words. Okay. But it doesn't mean that there's no compassion whatsoever. It's just that as it was coming up, it picked up all those things on its way. And to be honest, that's what's here. There, I have compassion, but the main thing right now that is propelling me to act right now, to say those things, to do those things, is fear, anxiety, whatever. And the more honest we are with them, the better we will be, the faster we will get to heal, to what you might call a completely healthy compassion. Okay. And when it is when you're in those situations where you have to act, this is not something where you're writing a paper and then what position you want to take. There's the person right there who needs your help right here in front of you. Then you have to go with, I'm not sure which one it is, but I want to go in the direction of compassion, and I'm I'm acting. Later on, I may discover that it was actually fear, but right now that's not clear to me whether it's fear or not, or otherwise I wouldn't be acting. But right now, I feel this is what I need to do, and I want it to be because of whatever measure of compassion that is moving me, and that will strengthen the compassion to be more more vibrant and more apparent and clearer. And move out of the experience of confusion. Yeah. Right, thanks for that question. Any other questions? Okay, you all want to probably haven't had dinner yet. Okay, all right. Yes, it's way past. It's time for dinner. Okay. All right, so let's do the same closing meditation that we've been doing for the past, I don't know how long. Make the intention to meditate. Connect with the intelligence within the body. Let it cooperate. Listen to that intelligence. Remember the experience of being in meditation. Let it be so vivid that you begin to taste it again. How it felt in the body, how it felt physically, how it felt energetically, how it felt in the mind, the breath. And with that, take a nice deep breath. And as you release, let yourself drop into that state. And notice the more pronounced presence of the signs in the body and the breath and the mind. Rejoice witnessing them. Begin with the sense of me. Don't go into philosophy. Don't go into, just go into what is actually your experience. And any of those things that are present, none of them is me, but yet they are present when there is me. In the same way, this conglomerate assembly of a bunch of not me's coming together, becoming me, this miracle, this magic. We can extend this me-ness and to help us think of someone looking at us. We are all in the same space, in your home, sitting in a circle, And then we are looking at us from the perspective of the person looking at us. The person say, look at them. And the person made a unit. He didn't say, look at this one and that one and that one and that one, that one, but look at them and feel that them, that collective identity, and merge it with a sense of me-ness that arises from a bunch of not me things, and yet they equal me. What a beautiful miracle, magic. So look at all of us, the bunch of not me's, let's make it me. In the same way, in the me here, the left hand takes care of the right hand without thinking, I'm left hand taking care of right hand, and you will owe me. It just thinks, I'm taking care of me. So have that attitude towards each other. Be ready to be the right hand helping the left hand with each other. And this is getting stronger, the sense of me-ness that has expanded. It's getting stronger. And it takes on an actual physical form of a bright presence in our center of our circle. And the stronger the sense of me-ness, the stronger the sense of readiness to respond toward each other as me, the brighter that presence becomes, until it becomes so bright that it expands. And the stronger that sense of me-ness, being us, the collective, until we are lost in that bright light, which continues to expand, getting everything lost into it. Your pet, your neighbors, your neighborhood continues to expand, the entire nation, all the trees, all the mountains continues to expand until you have a sense of all of us. And it could be the planet Earth, it could be the universe, whatever you can have a sense of that gives you a palpable sense of all of us. And that same impulse of the right helping the left, thinking, I'm helping me, feel that impulse towards the ocean, towards the rivers, towards the fish, towards the birds, towards the mountains, towards the sky, towards the grass. And include the liberals, the Republicans, Democrats, independents. And feel that readiness that the left has for the right towards everything. Now that this is firm and well established, we don't need this outward symbol to remind us. So this bright sphere of pure light begins to shrink. And as it shrinks, whatever was absorbed into it takes on its distinctive appearance, but we still maintain that sense of me-ness. Just like the right hand did not melt into the left for us to have that sense of me until it becomes just a pure, bright presence in our center of our circle again. And we are glowing because of that, having been absorbed in that light. And from that light, rays of light goes to each one of our hearts. And it dissolves itself through those rays of light into each one of our hearts. And we have the conviction, when I sincerely help me, I am sincerely helping us. When I sincerely help us, I am sincerely helping me. And feel that you are in the subtle consciousness. Notice the signs, the strength. Rejoice, knowing this is a subtle, powerful consciousness. Make a dedication. What is it that concerns you sincerely? Dedicate this to help address that concern. 교화 디 교화 근 선남 예시 조족시 선남 예시 대중 담바군이 도바수. Okay, joyfully get ready to arise from the meditation. Take a nice deep breath and exhale. And as you release the breath, let yourself reconnect with your immediate surroundings through your sense of touch. Notice the temperature, notice the feel of your clothing, notice the sounds, close, far. And if your eyes are closed, definitely begin to be aware of light, shade, colors, shapes. Thank you.